Now, I was told by one of my informants, but may or may not have been some of the people you've already mentioned here, that one trainer said that you ruined his career, literally, because after you improved one of his so much that he decided to turn the game in.
Yeah, there was certainly aspects of that. I landed upon a system which not that many people saw at the time. Very few, I would say, whereby I could possibly acquire horses at relatively low cost, improve those horses, run them possibly in a lower grade race, and the system allowed you to win lots of races in a short period of time. Now, I don't specifically know which trainer that was, but obviously at the time I was very aggressive in my buying style, and we would literally go to, Doncaster sales and buy 20, 25 horses at a time. I couldn't get lorries big enough to fetch them home because we had the momentum going with us. But there were one or two in truth when we bought the horses, and they did go out and win sort of 5 or 6 races on the bounce. It obviously didn't reflect well on them possibly, and it frustrated them, I suspect. But we're all vulnerable to it, and it happens more and more these days. But yes, there was certainly one horse and one chap who implied that to me in a jovial manner. We had a bit of fun, but Evan Williams also had a horse out of that particular yard as I did, and they both won considerable amount of races, and probably wasn't the best for his career anyway.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you read Martin Pipe's book 20 times. And I've read it a couple of times, but still couldn't train a horse. So what were you doing that other people weren't doing? What was you must have been doing something extra.
So I felt at that time the industry had probably become a little loose and sloppy, for want of a better word. I came on the scene where, on the back of probably the late 90s up to 2008, where money was flush. People were buying horses, and lots of them were buying these, stores and whatever, and props were squeezing the pips out of these horses. Also, there was a lot more opportunity to find races. So what was I doing differently? I felt I was targeting horses to win races. I never thought about winning Gold Cups. I never thought about winning Grand Nationals. I wanted to buy a horse that could win races. If you won races, your owner's happy. If your owner's happy, you'll buy more horses. And that was the system. Numbers, numbers, numbers. Build up a business, get income stream, pay staff, and make it all work. So I targeted what I felt at the time were racehorses that could be improved, whether that was through physical improvement, whether it was through fitness, whether it was through placing of them, whether it was the time I ran them, whether I felt my regime suited me, the pedigree of those horses, and I put it all in the pot. Lots of trainers then, it was quite traditional to run, from October to end of April, and that was the one big thing that I just dispelled really, and I ran horses all summer. It was weaker racing. You didn't have the Nicky Henderson and Paul Nicholls and the like running at that time, and I think frustratingly, I would say, it was almost frowned upon that I ran so many in the summer, and you're running them 6 or 8 times, and it was fast ground, and you can't do this and you can't do that. But I just took a view. Martin Pipe, he bought different horses, he bought different this, he bought different that. If you kept winning, people keep coming to you, and that's exactly what happened. And in this day and age, it's completely turned around now, and you've got all the top trainers running them all summer. So I think I was seeing things in horses that at that time other people weren't seeing, and I was placing them correctly to maximise their winning opportunities. In doing that, obviously ruffled feathers at the time, but it's what gave me success, and what enabled me to grow. Lots of owners joined me. The system's changed now. The BHA and the race planning has all evolved since, and it makes it far, far harder to do that in this day and age. And truthfully, I was doing things to horses that I think not that many people were doing at the time, which were, gastroscoping horses for ulcers, scoping them, blood testing them, all the things that Martin Pipe was doing 20 years previously. But it's almost like he took the game by storm. People caught up to a point, and then it all leveled off. And I possibly came along and reinvigorated that, and probably was quite aggressive in my stance. Because we made such an impact so quickly, it just caught possibly everyone off guard, really. But that was the key to it, is fitness, health, happiness for the horse, and the right grade of race.
Okay, now you mentioned before that when you were riding, you're riding against Evan Williams and Christian Williams. Is there a friendly rivalry now with
Oh,
you
look,
guys?
absolutely, yeah. Look, we've known each other years and years, really. I've got the utmost respect for Evan. He was a hard chap to ride against. I'm very aggressive, and in his training, he is dogged, you know. And but year in, year out, he delivers winners at the very top level. And if I was to be brutally honest, probably having ridden against him and seen how well he had done prior to me training probably spurred me on to start training. You know, like everything, think, well, it's achievable. Someone's done it. I can have a go at this. That's exactly what drove me, really, I suppose. Or opened my mind to the fact that you can train a racehorse in Wales and get lots of owners. So he sort of, he sort of stemmed away a little. Obviously, Peter Bowen was the almost was the protege to follow in Wales because he'd done so well in the early years, and then Evan followed on from him, and then I possibly followed on from Evan. So, but yes, to answer your question, get on great. Obviously, Christian in the more latter years has come on the scene. He was, he's 4 or 5 years younger than me, but we've known each other years. His dad, in fairness to him, gave me, a leg up in the industry, full stop, and I'll be forever grateful to him for that. And look, at the end of the day, we run in a business, and we all got to get on and do our job.
Okay, now your training career. So 2005, you had one winner under rules. I think 2012, you saddled 102. You're the youngest trainer to train 100 winners. Would it be fair to say that you've concentrated more on quality than quantity since, or is it just the way that things have?
Yeah, it takes you back to an earlier part of our conversation. The race planning system now, basically, everything is driven about having the fastest horse and the best horse. Now, when I started, it was all about exploiting angles. I think when I had the 102 winners, I won 33 selling hurdles. There was low grade races for low grade animals. I could afford to go and buy them 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand and go and run in those races. That doesn't happen anymore. You unfortunately now the system is you try your best. Horses, if they're not good enough, they get handicapped at a level. Often I feel most of them are too highly rated. They'll end up having another 2 or 3 runs. I just haven't got the money to compete at the level required to have the winners that I once did. It is as simple as that. It's become very, very top heavy and concentrated, much more like Ireland is, with Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott, Henry really dominating the whole country now. And I think Britain is starting to go the same way. So it's through race planning is the key thing. I think trainers are, as a group now are so good. Everyone's analysing scopes, gastroscopes, veterinary this, injecting that. Everyone's at it. The game's just caught up. Most trainers are very good, very able, and they have their owners who have their relationships with. So you go to a race, you've got 15 runners, and by God, 15 of them are all trying, they're all tuned, they're all fit, they're all well, they've all been checked, and it's just much more competitive. So the key to winning races now is having the fastest horse. When I started, the key to winning races was having the best handicapped horse, and I could get my hands on them. Now I just can't get my hands on them. So that was a big thing. Summer jumping, that's ended really for me in that, you could buy horses from Ireland, 110, 115, you'd win 2 or 3 races. You could win a beginner's chase, a novice chase with a penalty. You don't have novice chases over the summer now. They, once a month. And if you do, Paul Nicholls, Nicky Hens and Dan Skelton and the likes have all got runners in those races. You rate 140 in the middle of summer. So that's what stopped us. Having those amount of winners, and we've tried therefore buying better quality and better bred horses, but our number of winners have dramatically fallen away. So we'll build back up and it'll come, but it's a harder industry now to knock out and churn out the winners that I once did with the money that I've got to spend.
Okay, so it wasn't a case of you couldn't really. You've won the Scottish Grand National. You won big races at Aintree and Punchestown. So it's not a case of you couldn't concentrate on winning those sorts of races if you had a stable full of summer jumpers.
Look, balance of both. I obviously wanted a change. I obviously wanted to compete in the winter. I wanted to win those big races because you're right. From a trainer's championship perspective, if you have the most prize money, you go higher up the championship. So from my perspective, I would love to have those winners, and financially that works out far better. The reality is I'm grateful for every winner. The buzz I get it out of racing is seeing my owners happy. Whether I'm winning a Selling Hurdle at Taunton or I'm winning a Gold Cup, for example, not that I've won a Gold Cup, but I'm sure that is a lovely feeling. But the moral of the story is that's what makes me tick, is seeing owners happy. From a personal perspective, obviously I'd want to compete and have runners every day at Cheltenham. But I've also, again, I started off the whole part of this saying I was very realistic. I can only play with the financial clout that I've got and the support that I've got from owners who do their very best to keep me at it. But it is a tough old gig now to acquire the horses you need for that, you know, in the numbers you need to hit those sort of heights.
Okay, you mentioned high profile owners that you've had. So you've got a picture of Sir Alex Ferguson out there, Harry Finney mentioned, Michael Owen. I assume it's great fun training for people like that, but does it change anything about the way you sort of deal with their horses because you've got those sort of really high profile people as owners?
No is the answer to that. I just want to get the best out of every horse that I can. Every horse that comes in the yard, that's what you know aspire to achieve, or certainly I aspire to achieve. I just want to get the best out of them and win as much as I can with them. And obviously it's lovely to have those owners, and yes, we need those owners because it brings a different reflection. You get the media attraction from having them and the like, but fundamentally you want every horse to win, and I just want to train winners. I love it. That's what I thrive on, is the horses winning and owners being happy, whoever that may be.
Okay, and we mentioned this, finish off with a gambling. So quite a few of our owners we know made a lot of money betting, and you've said that you don't bet yourself, but would you consider your yard to be a gambling yard? Are those the sort of people that...
When I started, very definitely. I wouldn't say a gambling yard as such. The owners who had horses with me became attracted to me because probably I was under the radar. I hadn't been an assistant to someone. I didn't really have a big name in racing, and because I was completely out racing, the horses I were running were possibly overpriced for a period of time. So probably the first 3 or 4 years, or probably a bit less actually, the horses were going off at prices that were far bigger than they would have done with someone else who was far better known. With the weight of money that came for my horses and the delivering of the winners by myself over a period, that diminished, and less gambling became, the gamblers became less attracted to me then, because the prices of my horses reflected their chances rather than there being a little bit of value, because that's what most gamblers are looking for, is that edge and that bit of value. So I was definitely deemed as a gambling yard. But really, all that was is when I said to an owner I thought he'd win, they'd back it. It was nothing more technical than that. And some days, I didn't think, for whatever reason, the horse wasn't quite right, the race wasn't quite right, the ground had changed, we didn't fancy them, and they didn't back them. And I'd like to think I got that right more than I did wrong, which is what really allowed me to grow the yard as quickly and as successfully as we did, really.